Hello, what's up? This is from Beyond the Pain podcast. Man, first episode, I'm already messing up the name. I don't know how many people are going to listen to this or watch this, but we'll see how this plays out. I mean, it is the first night of college basketball, and Illinois is playing Eastern Illinois, my alma mater. It's a weird feeling. Like, I went to school at EIU. I have a lot of pride coming from a small school. I didn't have the money or the grades to go to Illinois, but I grew up an Illinois fan because I grew up like an hour away. But it's I guess in some aspect, it's hard to put in this situation. I don't know what to do. I have decided, and I did this last year because I played Eastern Illinois last year. I wanted Illinois to win and for Eastern Illinois to cover because Illinois is a 30.5-point favorite tonight at home against the Panthers. And obviously, this would be a terrible loss on Illinois' resume in general. Eastern, they've never been a good basketball program, haven't made the NCAA tournament since I think it was 2001. I'm okay with them being a baseball school and a occasional football school every 15 years. That's where I'm at. So that's what I'm hoping for. Unfortunately, also, this game is on Big Ten Plus. The first game of the night first game of the season is on Big Ten Plus. What are these people at the Big Ten Network thinking? I am asking for questions and I need to know the answers. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this game is not on TV somewhere unless you have Big Ten Plus. And I'm sorry, I subscribe to enough shit. I'm not giving the Big Ten any of my money. I guess I could pull it up on Reddit streams. I'm sure there's a way I could watch it that way. But whatever. That's where I'm at. If you're new here, if you're just, find my YouTube channel, or hell, if you're looking for a new Illinois podcast, Illinois basketball podcast, at least, I'm sorry, I'm a very casual Illinois football fan, but if you love Illinois basketball, you've come to the right place. I've been a huge diehard Illinois basketball fan since 04-05. And one might say, sure, yeah, I bandwagon. But you know what? Since then, all I've done is experienced an immense amount of pain. So, I was, in 04-05, I'm 32 now. I was a freshman in high school. So 14, 15 years old. I, again, grew up an hour away from Champaign, and all people were talking about in January, February, March of 2005 was Illinois basketball. D. Brown, Darren Williams, James Augustine, Luther Head. That team stole my heart quicker than any other team that I've ever loved in my entire life. Even in some ways quicker than the Chicago Cubs did, which a lot of you who subscribe to my YouTube channel, who even know who I am, know that I do a Cubs podcast, one of the bigger Cubs podcasts out there. But this podcast, I'm not going to talk about the Cubs. I'm always going to talk about Illinois because I needed an outlet. I needed an outlet to talk about Illinois basketball because we don't have the people at CHGO right now to be able to do an Illinois podcast. And honestly, that's fine. That means I can do this in my free time or when I want. Sure. Great. And you know what? Big of me to do this tonight, considering all the news that came out in the baseball world today, especially related to the Chicago Cubs. So I just want to put that out there. That is very big of me to still do this. But the thing is, the reason that I'm doing this is because I've been craving to talk about Illinois basketball. I've been craving to talk about it. I called this podcast, or I named this podcast From Beyond the Pain, because I live in Chicago, and I'm telling you, sure, there might be a ton of Illini fans here, but I swear we need more Illini bars in this city. We need more Illini bars. I know one Illini bar in the city, and I've been searching. Maybe I need to Google better. Maybe some of the people watching can tell me a good spot. The only Illini bar that I know in this city, it's not even an Illinois basketball bar. It's technically an Illinois football bar. It's Brickhouse Tavern in Wrigley, literally right in Gallagher Way. Brickhouse Tavern it is an Illinois football bar. But then in the fall, or not the fall, but like in the winter, like into fall/winter now, it turns into a Kansas bar, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how can you do that? I have not been able to just find an Illinois bar. I can't do it. I can find Iowa, Michigan, Michigan State, all these other Big Ten schools. Hell, I find more of those than I do Northwestern, because no one gives a shit about Northwestern. That said, their basketball program kind of scares me this year. They were good last year. They're going to be good. We're going to talk a lot about the Big Ten in this episode. I'm going to try and keep it to 30 minutes because no one wants to listen to me talk for more than 30 minutes. And I'm already kind of going all over the place. I'm used to Luke Stuckmeyer, carrying me everywhere, leading me down paths. Now I'm just doing this by myself. I'm just talking out loud. So that's the main reason why I named this podcast From Beyond the Pain, is because every Illinois basketball podcast or just Illinois athletics podcast, I swear, is based in Champaign, or at least in Central Illinois or Southern Illinois. I haven't found one that's based here in Chicago. So, and it's like from beyond the arc, but like shooting a three, whatever. I'm really bad at coming up with names. This is the only thing I come up with just because I live in Chicago, not in Champaign, and literally every Illinois podcast that I've checked out or listened to is that none of the people are here. So, if you're an Illini fan in Chicago, maybe this is the place for you, man. Maybe it is. I don't know, but that's how I came up with the name. We are 7 minutes in, and Eastern Illinois is up 9-4 on Illinois right now. Panthers coming out hot. 15 minutes to go in the first. So I'm actually kind of proud. I'm proud. Last year, Eastern hung around and they covered. So, I envision Illinois getting their shit together here. I don't want Illinois and Iowa to be, to have something in common for this reason. All right. Like Eastern Illinois went on the road and beat Iowa last year. And I want to be able to use that against Iowa fans for the rest of time. I really do. What's up, Ryan? I see you in the chat. Illinois looking a little rough so far. I'm a little surprised considering how well they played against Kansas. But that also was an exhibition game. How much can you put into that? So, anyway, I guess this beginning part of these first 8 minutes have kind of been a little bit of an introduction. That's why I named the show this. I need to find an Illinois bar in the city. I've been trying to find an Illinois bar in the city forever, and I can't. This podcast is basically going to be just like a reactionary show. I'm not going to give you like this like advanced analytics like bullshit that a lot of these other outlets do. I'm not, because I don't care enough, and two, sometimes people just kind of want therapy, man, and that's what I think I'll give you. And when I do that, it also helps me because I could sit here and bitch and complain about this team a ton. Also, there will be cursing, so sorry if your kids are around and you're listening to me talk. Need a sip of water. Take a sip of water. So I thought the first episode, because I can't watch the actual game, I'm just following on my phone. Because I can't watch the actual game, I was like, okay, well, what can we do? How can we start the show off with a bang, I guess? I have seen on social media, specifically the X app, as I like to call it, these college basketball, like Big Ten accounts, tweeting out like their preseason rankings, like whether it's players or coaches. And listen, I could care less about player rankings. It's not like we know Zach Edey's probably the best player in the Big Ten, right? Or at least the best big man. The most dominant player in the Big Ten, arguably college basketball, right? But when it comes to coaches, I swear, I saw a coach's ranking the other day, last week, that made me literally just laugh out loud. Like, you know how you type out LOL a lot? Just because you don't know what else to say at the end of a sentence or something, on whether you're texting your friend or, just sending a dumb tweet or whatever. This coach's ranking legitimately made me laugh out loud, because I was like, "Not this doesn't make sense. This legitimately doesn't make sense." So, let's get into that here. This particular coach's ranking came from, I want to say it was called, I want to give credit where credit is due. I think it was Big Banter is the name. Yeah, Big Banter. Right? A big stands for Big Ten. So it's a preseason Big Ten coaches ranking. I saw this on social media last week. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you can, if you're listening on the app, if you're listening like on Spotify or audio version, right? I'll go through the ranking here for you. All right. So it starts off with Matt Painter, number 1, which, okay, fine. Like, I can see why you can argue him being the best coach in the Big Ten, considering recent success and long tenure at Purdue. Number 2, Tom Izzo. All right. Last Big Ten coach to win a national championship, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure he is. Number 3, Fran McCaffrey. I can't. I'm sorry. Okay. Number 4, Steve Peichel from Rutgers. Number 5, Mike Woodson. I would argue, big of me to do this. Big of me, again, to say this, what I'm about to say, I would argue that he deserves to be higher. Number 6, Chris Collins. What in the actual fuck are we thinking here? All right, I'll get back to that. Number 7, Chris Holtman from Ohio State. Then number 8, Brad Underwood. Number 9, Kevin Willard out of Maryland. I think he obviously should be higher too. Number 10, Juwan Howard. Honestly, that's probably about right. Like, he's not the worst coach, but he sure as hell doesn't deserve to be in the top 7. That's for sure. Number 11, Greg Gard out of Wisconsin. Fred Hoiberg, number 12 from Nebraska. Mike Rhodes at Penn State, number 13. And then rounding out, like they do in everything else in college basketball, especially in the Big Ten, Minnesota, Ben Johnson, number 14. All right. So I understand. Let me start by saying that I understand. I understand a lot of these preseason rankings, like these social media accounts, they put these things out there to get a reaction. And I won't lie. Like, I bit at it. It caused me to roll my eyes and laugh a little bit, right? Let's look at this one more time. All right. This is Brad. Let's just start with Brad Underwood. This is Illinois podcast, right? Brad Underwood at number 8. You're telling me the coach of the team who has the most wins in the Big Ten the last 4 years is the 8th best coach in the Big Ten, not college basketball. I wouldn't even know him. I love Brad Underwood. I met him on the streets of Wrigleyville this summer. He's not one of the best coaches in college basketball, but he's one of the best coaches in the Big Ten. I'm sorry. He is. I don't care that he hasn't won a Sweet 16 yet. I don't care that the debacle with Loyola a few years ago happened. I don't care. At this level, and with where the Illinois basketball program was before him, you cannot sit here and tell me with a straight face that Brad Underwood isn't a top 5 coach, at least in the Big Ten. More wins than anyone else in the Big Ten the last 4 years. I don't understand. And the fact that he is below Chris Collins, what is this recency bias? Okay, Northwestern had a good season, their second greatest season of literally their entire existence. What? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That said, now I will give credit where credit was due. Chris Collins was a better coach than Brad Underwood last year. Yeah, he took a Northwestern team that had very low expectations, no one thought they were going to be in the race to make an NCAA tournament. And they finished second in the Big Ten last year. Okay. 1 year, man. 1 year. You know how many other bad years he's had there? It's like Pat Fitzgerald all over again. Like that guy got so much credit for what? For what? He didn't do shit at Northwestern for the majority of his time there. What is it with the when you look at teams with low expectations or schools with low expectations, no one thinking about what's gonna, no one caring about expectations. Like Northwestern, they will have their 1 year every 7 years when it comes to football. And now finally over the last 10 years, their basketball program figured out how to make an NCAA tournament. Okay, cool. And I'm not even like a Northwestern hater. Like I don't care about Northwestern. If Northwestern was good, if Northwestern was like they were last year for the next 5, 6, 7 years, yeah, I'd probably grow some disdain for them. I still haven't forgot about the loss at Northwestern last year. That loss was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing. And it pissed me off because Illinois should have not only played better, but they were way more talented than that Northwestern team, and they should have won, and they didn't. There's a lot of reasons why that Illinois team last year just did not ever mesh, but you know what? They still made the NCAA tournament. And that's something that only Northwestern can say they've done twice in their entire program's existence, all right? So I can't sit here. You can't sit here and tell me that Chris Collins is better than Brad Underwood. I'm sorry. And don't give me, Illinois brings in better recruits. I don't care. I legitimately don't care. I don't care. All right. You're in the Big Ten. You're in the Big Ten. All right. You brand yourself as Chicago's Big Ten team or whatever. All right. Act like it. Join the rest of us. Don't worry about just academics. All right. I know I'm just shitting out my mouth. Like, I don't know. But you can't legitimately sit here and tell me that Chris Collins is a better coach than Brad Underwood. You just can't. All right. So Chris Collins at 6 is to me is laughable. Now, I really laughed about Fran McCaffrey being number 3. All right. He's been at Iowa for a long time. They make the NCAA tournament basically every year. Feels like, he's really good at coaching up an offense. You know what? Iowa's football team could really use Fran McCaffrey as offensive coordinator because they know how to score points. Iowa knows how to score points every year. But you know what? When it comes to playing defense, Iowa doesn't play any defense. I take so many overs when Iowa plays. I'm not saying Fran McCaffrey is a bad coach, but I also feel like he shouldn't be ahead of Brad Underwood. I don't understand that. They too, Iowa, they do as well flop when it comes to March, just like Illinois. What has Iowa done that's any better than Illinois? What have they done? There's not a lot to say. So, number 3. I think Brad Underwood should be top 5. If he's not, if he's in the top 5 for me, he's probably number 4, number 5. I do think Mike Woodson deserves to be ahead of Brad Underwood. I think he's done a phenomenal job at Indiana. Big of me to say, credit to me. And then I really do like Kevin Willard. That might be a little surprising to some people, but he did a hell of a job with Maryland last year. So I would take Peichel and McCaffrey out of there, put Woodson at number 3, and then round it out with Kevin Willard and Brad Underwood. Chris Collins and Chris Holtmann, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me, folks? I don't get it. I don't get it. Whatever. All right. So I felt like that was a good way to start this because this is a lot of what this show is going to be about. Just, bullshitting, stupid shit. And then that ranking was stupid. I'm sorry. But hey, you're welcome for the free advertising, Big Banters. You're welcome. 10 minutes and 58 seconds to go in the first half between Eastern Illinois, and Eastern Illinois still leads 15-11. Credit to the Panthers for hanging around in the first half. All right. I will give credit where credit is due. Proud alum right here. Let's go over some stats. First off, Noah Illini has Luke Goody has 3 points, but other than that, everyone else has 2 points. I'm really intrigued. The biggest thing I'm most intrigued about with this Illinois team to start the year is Ty Rodgers basically playing point guard. I think that's the biggest thing I am interested in this team. You know, if you've made it this far and you don't know me, obviously, like, I'm a big Brad Underwood supporter. Obviously, I think each team we've seen the last 3, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, has been good enough to at least been a NCAA tournament team. And, before the Brad Underwood era, we were begging to just make the NCAA tournament. But this is out of all the seasons that Brad Underwood has been the coach, I would say this is the most down on the program that I've been going into a year. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I was left so disappointed at the end of last season. Not only with just the early exit in the NCAA tournament, I don't think anyone legitimately thought that they could even get to the Sweet 16. Hell, win the first game in the bracket that they had faced. They got their butts kicked by Arkansas, right? I think that I'm just down because I don't know what to expect out of Ty Rodgers at point guard. And then even though Terrence Shannon Jr. and Coleman Hawkins are returning, I just feel like those guys excel a lot better with, a pure point guard. And so we're going to see as this season plays out how Ty Rodgers is going to take this new role. And, I watched a few highlights. Unfortunately I was unable to watch either of the first 2 games, the exhibition games. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I know how things are going to go. I'm rooting for Ty Rodgers. I like Ty Rodgers. They're, in his limited role last year, I thought he played as well as you could as a freshman. But I'm not excited. I'm at a point right now where I hope that Illinois is just another tournament team. I'm not putting any expectations on this team. Now, all of the, the Big Ten, all the rankings people out there, Andy Katz and, John Rothstein, I saw him put Illinois as, a top 20 team. I mean, they're ranked number 25 to start the year. Like, sure, they could be a ranked team all season, like a top 25 team. Do I think that they're going to sneak into the top 10 and hang around in the top 10 for a long stretch this year? No, I don't. And even though they have experience, Hawkins been there a handful of years. He's got to see some success there. He's played a lot of games. Feel like that's going to be good for Illinois this year. Terrence Shannon Jr., experienced guard, one of the best guards in the Big Ten, no doubt. No doubt. They have the experience. They got the transfer from SIU, who I'm excited to see how that plays out. Dane Dangerous back, and obviously Sincere Harris is here, right? Coming off the bench. They have some dudes, and obviously Luke Goody, who I mentioned earlier. Like, they have some really good players. I just don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect with this team, right? So we're going to see. It's just one game right now. It's 15-13. Their defense has picked it up. Eastern's barely scored any points the last 6 minutes. Now Illinois got to start making shots, right? And I felt like last year's team was built to jack up a ton of threes, and they had really good three-point shooters, but unfortunately, those really good three-point shooters weren't good at shooting threes. So they got to be a better shooting team this year. They just do. I've seen a lot of rankings that have Illinois, as the third best team in the Big Ten. If they're the third best team in the Big Ten by the end of the year, I'll be happy. I'll be excited about that, especially with that Purdue team that basically bringing back the entire team from last year. That was a number 1 seed that lost to Fairleigh Dickinson. Shout out to my guy, Greg Braggs. We'll have to get him on the pod eventually whenever Illinois and Purdue play. And then Michigan State returned a bunch of players. They were good last year. So I don't think Illinois is better than those two teams. I do not. But do I think right now, to start the year, do I think Illinois is the third best team in the Big Ten? No. I want to be proven wrong. I'm going into the season with low expectations. I'm going into the season with just making the NCAA tournament. That's what I want. I just want to make the NCAA tournament. Maybe we can finally beat Mizzou so I can finally give Ryan some shit. If you know, you know. That's where I'm at as we reach the end of this podcast. Yeah, if they finish third in the Big Ten, that's better than Northwestern. That's better than Maryland. That's better than Michigan. I love beating Michigan. I love being better than Michigan. And going back to the coaches ranking, Juwan Howard is the biggest fraudulent coach in this conference. But yeah, like I want to have higher expectations. I do. But coming off of last year, I'm just kind of scared. I'm kind of scared. So we'll see. All right. So we're coming up around the 30-minute mark. We got about 3 minutes left. So I do want to thank the few people who tuned in live on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe button. This is my personal YouTube channel, so there's going to be more than just Illinois content here, but this is where I'll always be doing the live shows, be doing live reactions, we're doing watch alongs. I would have been doing a watch along tonight if this game wasn't on Big Ten Plus. What in the actual hell? First game of the year, Big Ten Plus. Make it make sense. And we'll see where this goes. Everyone knows me as a Cubs podcaster. There are a few of you out there that know I like Illinois, so that's cool. That's great. And I appreciate y'all for checking this out. And, tell a friend. Spread the news. Spread the news. All right. So, again, I appreciate y'all. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody_CHGO, on TikTok and Instagram, the same handle as well. Obviously, you'll see a ton of Cubs content, but maybe follow me on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. That's where I'm tweeting about, or that's where most of my Illinois content comes from. Sometimes we'll do some TikToks related to Illinois as well. But just wanted to do a little introductory podcast talking about my Illinois fandom and why we're doing this and, whatever. I'm excited for the year ahead. I genuinely get excited the most for college basketball season after baseball season. Baseball season is number one for me, but college basketball season is number two, even more than the NFL. I love gambling on the NFL, but I love watching college basketball. In terms of just being a fan, watching sports, I love watching college basketball. It's second most out of any major sport or league or whatever out there. So, again, looking forward to following this team all season long. Brad Underwood is a top 5 coach in the country, or not the country, in the Big Ten. He's a top 5 coach. Brad Underwood is a top 5 coach in the Big Ten. And that's where I'm ending this podcast, considering what we talked about on this one. I appreciate y'all for checking it out, for tuning in. I'm going to tweet out the link to the actual podcast itself once I get this uploaded and everything. And I'll put those links in the description if you want to come back and just listen to the audio version. But yeah, I appreciate y'all, and we'll be back. I'll probably try and do a little preview show for the next game, which I believe is later this week. I have to look at the schedule. But anyway, I'll let y'all know. And again, I appreciate y'all for checking this out. I will talk to you soon. ILL.